She came aboard without a uniform, without a name, and without permission. The sailors ignored her until the battleship stopped listening to its own commander and obeyed her instead. When the main cannon turned on its own, when the alarms froze mid-scream, and when the ocean fell silent around the USS Arden, they realized the truth. She wasn't visiting the ship. The ship was waiting for her. She arrived quietly. No escort, no announcement, no explanation. Just a lone woman stepping onto the observation deck of the USS Arden, the Navy's most advanced battleship. The morning fog wrapped around the steel hull, blurring her silhouette, as she walked along the railing like she'd been there her entire life. No uniform, no insignia. Just a simple dark coat, wind pulled tight around her shoulders. The sailors barely glanced at her. A few nodded politely, assuming she was a civilian visitor or some admin officer from Port Authority. Someone harmless. Someone with no business near weapons capable of leveling a coastline. "Ma'am, this area isn't for public viewing," a young deckhand called, trying to sound authoritative. She didn't argue. She simply stepped back, hands tucked into her coat pockets, eyes fixed on the horizon, like she was waiting for something. Something only she expected. Lieutenant Ryan Hale noticed her first. He nudged the officer beside him. "You see her?" he asked quietly. "Yeah. Probably inspections department," Ryan frowned. "Then why is she positioned like she owns the deck?" The question hung in the air, because she did stand like that, balanced, steady, completely unbothered by the wind tearing across the ship. She didn't grip the rail like the civilians usually did. She didn't flinch at the booming drills. She simply watched. And the more Ryan studied her, the more wrong something felt. Commander Ellis approached, clipboard in hand, irritation brewing in his tone. "Who cleared her onto my ship?" "She came aboard with the port officers, sir," Ryan said. "Did anyone check credentials?" "Assuming they did, sir," Ellis grunted. "Assuming gets people court-martialed." But when Ellis approached her, the irritation drained from his expression. Something in her eyes froze him mid-step. Not fear, not threat. Recognition. Recognition he couldn't explain. "Ma'am," Ellis said carefully, "this deck is restricted during live drills." She didn't respond. Not verbally. But she shifted her stance, just a fraction, and Ellis stepped back instinctively. Ryan raised a brow. "Sir?" Ellis didn't answer. For the first time in his career, a civilian had unsettled him. The ship horn blared across the water. Drills were beginning. The battleship's forward gun, a massive 16-inch cannon, rotated toward the practice zone 2 miles out. Target drones glided across the water, ready to be vaporized for training. Sailors shouted commands. Officers took positions. Everything was routine, except her. She didn't react to the thunder of engines or the rumble of the ammunition lift beneath the deck. Her gaze stayed on one thing, the forward gun. Ryan saw it. "Why is she watching the cannon like that?" Liam beside him shrugged. "Maybe she's scared." Ryan shook his head. "She doesn't look scared. She looks like she knows what it's going to do." The first round was loaded. The gun captain raised his arm. "Stand by." The entire ship tensed, but the woman tilted her head slightly, and the gun captain froze. His hand, raised midair, simply stopped. He blinked at her, confused, startled, like he suddenly recognized who was watching him. Ellis snapped, "Captain, fire when ready." But the gun captain didn't move. He was staring at her, only her. "What's wrong with him?" Ryan whispered. Liam murmured, "Does he know her?" Before anyone could question him, the ship's comms officer ran across the deck, tablet shaking in his grip. "Commander, we're receiving an override request." "From where?" The officer swallowed. It's from the deck." Ellis turned sharply. "Which officer?" The comms tech hesitated. "Not an officer, sir. A civilian ID." Ellis laughed once. Short, sharp. "Impossible. It's not just requesting." "Sir," the tech whispered. "It's being accepted." Ryan felt his pulse spike. The battleship's main gun was now syncing with the presence of someone on deck. Someone standing 20 feet away. The woman. Her posture didn't change, but something in the air shifted. The wind calmed. The ship's vibrations leveled. The gunners stopped shouting. It was as if the entire battleship recognized her. "Who is she?" Ryan muttered. The comms tech stared at his tablet, pale. "Sir, the system is tagging her with a command priority I've never seen. Higher than the Admiral. Higher than Fleet Command." Ellis stepped back. "That's classified level 0. Nobody outside command authority has that clearance." Ryan turned toward her again. She finally spoke. Quiet, steady, controlled. "You're pointing the gun in the wrong direction." Every sailor froze. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried across the deck like steel scraping against steel. Ryan felt his stomach drop. Ellis stiffened. Even the wind paused. Liam muttered, "Wrong direction. The target's right there." "No," she said softly. "That's not the target." The battleship's targeting system beeped, then beeped again. Then, without a single officer touching a control, it slowly rotated its cannon away from the practice zone. Dozens of sailors gasped. "What the hell? Who's doing that?" "Is she?" Ryan stared at her like she was a ghost. "Ma'am," he said cautiously, "the cannon is live. You can't—" She raised a hand. The cannon froze. Not a mechanical freeze. A system freeze. The entire ship's firing mechanism locked onto her command gesture. Something no naval software was programmed to do. Ellis felt his heart pounding in his throat. "You can't possibly have access to this battleship's weapons. That system was built after—" He stopped, because she turned toward him with a calm expression that didn't match the chaos unfolding around them. "I didn't come here to watch a drill," she said. "I came because you're about to be attacked. And your battleship still remembers who built its firing protocol." Ryan whispered, stunned. "She built it?" She turned back to the horizon, and in the distance, barely visible through the fog, something huge began to rise. The battleship cannon tracked it automatically, without human input. Her input. Ryan felt his breath catch. "What is that?" She didn't blink. "It's what you were never trained to fight." The sailors backed away from the railings, whispers rising into fear. The cannon locked into targeting position. Ellis stared at her, terrified. "Ma'am, what do we do?" She took one slow breath. "You wait." The object rising from the water pulsed with a low metallic growl. "And you do exactly what I tell you." The deck of the USS Arden still shook from the last tremor, yet no one dared to speak. Moments ago, the woman who had appeared as nothing more than a silent observer had stepped forward, and the entire battleship had reacted as if waking from a long sleep. Systems rebooted, consoles lit up, targeting arrays aligned, all without a single spoken command. But now the officers stood frozen, waiting for the explanation they feared. The Admiral's voice was barely more than a whisper. "Who are you? Really?" The woman, Ilara Voss, kept her eyes on the sea. The grey waves stretched endlessly, restless and cold. Only when the wind shifted did she breathe in. "You already know," she murmured. The Admiral swallowed. "We suspected, but we never believed the reports." Ilara finally turned, slowly, deliberately. Her expression was unreadable, but the silence around her carried the weight of a forgotten history. "What reports?" asked Lieutenant Hale, voice shaking despite his rigid posture. The Admiral didn't answer immediately. He stared at Alara, as if looking at a ghost. "She wasn't assigned to this ship," he said. "She was built into it." Confusion rippled through the crew. "Built into it," Hale repeated. "Sir, she's a person." "No," the Admiral corrected softly. "She's the only one who ever commanded the Arden before the incident. The only one it still recognizes." A technician on the upper deck gasped. "The classified incident?" "Sir, those records were sealed." Alara raised her hand, and the screens lining the bridge flickered to life, displaying archived footage, grainy, distorted, but real. The crew watched, breathless. There she was, 10 years younger, standing on the same deck. Giving commands the battleship obeyed instantly, not through microphones, not through consoles, through recognition, through presence, through something the military called Command Imprint Protocol, a black-budget project erased from public record after one catastrophic night. Hale's hands trembled. "You were the commander during the attack on the Atlas Strait." Alara didn't deny it. Behind her, the ship's systems hummed and synced, as if leaning closer to her. "I was the commander," she said. "I gave the order to protect our fleet. But someone," her voice sharpened, "overrode my clearance." The Admiral shut his eyes, guilt flickering across his face. "Alara, it wasn't supposed to be you. They forced the override. The ship malfunctioned. You were caught in—" She cut him off with a single calm breath. "No malfunction. No accident. Someone wanted the Arden silenced. And someone wanted me gone." The crew exchanged horrified looks. "Then how did you survive?" Hale whispered. Alara's gaze darkened. "I didn't." Silence hit the deck like a wave. Her meaning was undeniable. She had disappeared that night, declared dead, buried in classified files. Yet here she stood. Not dead, not forgotten. Awakened. Suddenly the alarms blared. A hostile signature approaching off the port side. Officers jumped into motion, reaching for controls they no longer truly controlled. "Alara," the Admiral warned. "That's not a drill. That's a destroyer on an attack run." The crew watched her, waiting, fearing. She stepped toward the command rail, eyes narrowing at the dark shape cutting through the waves. "That's the ship responsible for the override," she said. "How do you know?" Hale asked. "Because it still carries the same encryption signature it stole from me." The destroyer's guns aligned, targeting USS Arden. The Admiral shouted, "Battle stations!" But the ship didn't respond to him. It responded to her. "Alara," he said urgently, "you have to let us take control." "No." Her voice was steady. "That ship ended my life once. It will not do it again." The destroyer fired first. A roar split the sky. A flash tore across the sea. And then, the Arden moved. No one touched the consoles. No one gave orders. Alara simply raised a hand. The battleship's hull shifted, engines surged, turrets locked on with predatory precision. The Arden returned fire with a thunderous blast that shook the ocean itself. The destroyer's shot missed. Alara's did not. The enemy vessel reeled, smoke billowing from its side, but it still turned for a counterstrike. "Alara, finish it!" Hale shouted. But she didn't fire again. Instead she whispered, "No more loss. Not today." The Arden's weapon systems powered down. The crew gasped. "Ma'am, what are you doing?" "Ending this without repeating the past," she said. She raised both hands slowly. The sea answered. Massive waves surged, lifting the destroyer and forcing it sideways, disarming it without a shot. The ship's lights flickered, systems short-circuited, engines died. The battleship had used its power, not to destroy, but to disable. The Admiral stared at her in stunned disbelief. "Elara, the Arden listens to you alone." "It always did," she said softly, "because I am the imprint it was born from." She stepped back as the ocean calmed, the threat neutralized. The Admiral's voice trembled. "Then, what happens now?" Elara looked out at the horizon, steady, resolute, unbreakable. "Now?" she said. "Now the ship remembers who it belongs to." The Arden's engines roared in agreement, low, powerful, alive, and the crew stood in silence, realizing one terrifying truth. She didn't come just to watch. She came to reclaim command, forever.